Shalom. Before I start, I want to give all honors and glories and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Mahabakakodash, Yahweh, which is the one true name of the Heavenly Father, Yahushai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, but his one true name is Yahushai. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, who will well and teach well, because those are the men who I learned this truth from through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai. Peace, blessings, salutations to the hopeful elect. And shalom to you, sincere brothers scattered abroad, pushing forth this word in truth and sincerity. I am the brother Mashiach Irazakah from the servants of Yahweh Yahushai Camp, Las Vegas, Nevada branch. And pretty much, as you saw in the clip, was a special gathering for a gang of Judite men, as you want to call it. They called so-called black men. They were pretty much walking together down, I guess, some type of celebration, having dreads. And there was some type of special gathering of those individuals with dreads. So this lesson is going to be titled as Dreadlocks is not an Israelite custom. I've said it many times before. The elders said it many times before. Dreadlocks are not an Israelite custom. And we're going to do a lesson on this topic again for edification purposes, because you may have jakes that are new in this truth and they don't understand the origin of dreadlocks. All right. And the one thing that people get a misconsumption of, all right, they be getting, misconstrued and otherwise with the scriptures, is that they'll assume that Samson had dreads and he didn't have no damn dreads. Dreadlocks is not an Israelite custom. Dreadlocks is a heathen custom. And we're going to prove that in this lesson. And Lord willing, this lesson is edifying. Now, if you are an individual that disagree with what I'm saying, don't watch this video. You do what you want to do, but just know it's going to be your demise, because you do not understand that dreads is not an Israelite custom. That's a heathen custom. So the first scripture I'm going to get out is Numbers, I think it's 6. And I think I'll start at verse 2, because this is going into the Nazarite vow, the law of the Nazarite. And you have prophets in the Bible that was Nazarite. Samson was not the only Nazarite that only kept the Nazarite vow. You had Apostle Paul, he kept the Nazarite vow. You had John the Baptist, right? John the Baptist, he kept the Nazarite vow. Right? John the Baptist, Apostle Paul, they kept the Nazarite vow. You had Samson that kept the Nazarite vow. So these prophets, these men that I'm naming, they all kept the Nazarite vow. Samson wasn't the only one with a Nazarite vow. You had other men, other prophets that had the Nazarite vow, but it wasn't dreadlocks. Plaits, having long plaits was what Samson had. Having plaits is what they had. They didn't have no damn dreads. So let's get to the main point. This is Numbers 1 and 6. It says, "And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when either man or woman shall separate themselves to vow a vow of a Nazarite." And that word Nazarite, it means consecrated. It means to be separate. That's what Nazarite means. And we'll get it for edification, because that's what that word Nazarite means. That word Nazarite, it means to be consecrated. It means to be consecrated. That word consecrate, it also means to be separate. When you go into it,
Strong's H 5139. Nazir.
Khan. That word Nazarite, it means H5139, which is Nazir, which means what? Consecrate, or devoted one. Consecrate, right? It means to be consecrated. It means to be separate. Salakia, it means to be separated. It means to be separate. That word Nazarite, it means to be separate. Consecrated, all right? To be separate. So now going back, verse 2, it says, "Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when either man or woman shall separate themselves to vow of a Nazarite." So that word Nazarite, it means to be consecrated, to be separate. That's what the word Nazarite means. It says to separate themselves unto the Lord, right? Verse 3, it says, "He shall separate himself." So this is the law of a Nazarite. Because you got a lot of individuals that's growing their hair long. They may grow dreadlocks. They may have long ass hair. And they'll say, "Oh, I'm keeping the law of a Nazarite. I'm keeping the Nazarite vow." We know that you're not keeping the Nazarite vow. number one, you ain't going to be able to keep a Nazarite vow perfectly in this society. You're not going to be able to keep a Nazarite vow perfectly in this society. You're in captivity, for one. Number two, you're not going to be able to keep it. You're not going to be able to keep the laws perfectly as a Nazarite. You're not going to be able to keep a Nazarite vow perfectly, man. Let's prove why. This is why. Number three, he shall separate himself from wine and strong drink. With a Nazarite vow, you can't drink wine. You can't drink wine. You can't drink any alcohol. You can't drink any of that stuff. It says it shall drink no vinegar of wine, or it says drink no vinegar of wine or vinegar of strong drink. You can't drink no alcohol with having dreadlocks. You can't drink no wine, alcohol, none of that. It says neither shall he drink any liquor of grapes, nor eat moist grapes or dried. You can't eat raisins. You can't eat any raisins, no grapes. You can't eat anything of the vine with a Nazarite vow. You can't eat anything of the vine. Nothing of the vine tree with a Nazarite vow. We know for a fact that none of you guys is keeping Nazarite vow. You guys are drinking wine. You going off. With a Nazarite vow, you can't drink no wine. You can't drink no wine. You can't eat any grapes, no tomatoes, grapes, anything of the vine tree. You can't eat raisins. You can't eat anything of the vine tree. I know you guys ain't keeping that. Verse 4, all the days of his separation, it says, shall he eat nothing that is made of the vine tree. See, you can't eat anything of the vine tree. Tomatoes, grapes, you can't eat nothing of the vine. It says from the kernels even to the husk. Verse 5, all the days of the vow of his separation, there shall no razor come upon his head, right? So you have plaits, right? You grow your hair really long. You're not supposed to take no razor upon your head. But guess what? You got to cut your hair every year, though. Yes, according to the scriptures, you do. Because you got the Passover that comes in. You have to cut your fucking hair. Because other than that, you can't. Because on the Passover, you got to drink wine and you got to eat. You got to drink wine. You drink wine and you have what's called it, right? You have the 7 days of unleavened bread, right? You drink wine, 7 days of unleavened bread, etc. Right? You have to drink wine on the Passover. So how are you able to keep that with a Nazarite vow? You have to fucking cut your hair. You have to cut your hair. You have to cut your hair every year because the Passover comes. How with a Nazarite vow? How are you gonna be able to keep that? How are you gonna be able to keep the Passover with a Nazarite vow? You're gonna have to fucking cut your hair because you can't drink wine. You gotta fucking cut your hair. It says, verse 5, it says, all the days of the vow of his separation, there shall no razor come upon his head until the days be fulfilled, right, in the which he separated himself unto the Lord. So you do cut your hair as a Nazarite. You cut your hair, you put it into the fire, etc. You do fucking cut your hair with a Nazarite vow. None of you guys is able to do that. You're not able to keep a Nazarite vow perfectly. You're not going to be able to keep a Nazarite vow. It says, until the days be fulfilled in which he separated himself unto the Lord, he is to be holy and shall let the locks of his head grow. Now, you got people that read Numbers 6 and 5, and they'll get misconstrued with the scriptures, and they'll think that word locks there is talking about dreads, and that's not talking about no fucking dread. All right? The word locks there, that's not talking about no dread. That's talking about plaits. That's not talking about no fucking dread, and we're going to prove it. Verse 6, it says, all the days that he separated himself unto the Lord, he shall come at no dead body. So with a Nazarite vow, you can't go to a funeral. You couldn't be around no dead bodies, none of that stuff. With a Nazarite vow, yeah, you can't be around any dead bodies. So just imagine if you was a person that's claiming to keep a Nazarite vow, if you had a relative that died, you can't go to the funeral. You can't be around dead bodies with a Nazarite vow. Verse 7, it says, he shall not make himself unclean for his father or for his mother, for his brother or for his sister when they die. So, for example, if you lost your mother, your father, your dad, or your sister, and they died, you wouldn't be able to go to the funeral because you couldn't be around no dead bodies with Nazarite vow. And I'm sure none of you niggas is doing that. None of you simple ass jakes with that long ass hair, with them long ass fucking dreads, is keeping the Nazarite vow. You can't eat anything of the vine tree. I'm sure you niggas eating grapes. You eating spaghetti, right? That's of the vine tree. That's made of tomato sauce. Tomato is of the vine tree. So you're eating spaghetti, you fucking going off. You eating pizza, you fucking going off. If you supposed to be keeping Nazarite vow, you couldn't even eat pizza because that shit got tomato sauce in it. You want to get to the point? Yeah, you wouldn't be able to eat lasagna, spaghetti. You wouldn't fucking be able to eat. I'm just saying, you wouldn't be able to eat those things. You couldn't eat any of that shit. You know, spaghetti, you wouldn't be able to eat that. That all got tomato sauce in it. You wouldn't be able to eat that shit. Just speaking for verbatim, you wouldn't be able to eat that shit. right? It says verse 8, it says all the days of his separation, it says all the days of his separation he is holy unto the Lord. Verse 9, it says, and if any man die very suddenly by him, it says, and he have defiled the head of his consecration, then he shall shave his head in the day of his cleansing. On the seventh day shall he shave it. And this goes into all the other stuff. But mainly this right here. You couldn't eat anything of the vine. You wouldn't be able to eat anything of the vine tree. You can't eat anything of the vine tree with a Nazarite vow. You wouldn't be able to drink no wine, no alcohol, and you wouldn't be able to be around dead bodies. Just probably paraphrasing. So we know that none of you dudes is keeping a Nazarite vow. It's very difficult to keep a Nazarite vow. Just fucking cut your hair. Now, we're going to go and prove that dreadlocks is not an Israelite custom, because when you go into the meaning of that word locks there, let the seven locks of my head with the web, when Samson said that, when you go into the meaning of that word locks there, it's talking about a plait, a braid. It's not talking about no fucking dreads. This is Judges 16:13, and Delilah said unto Samson, and Delilah, she was a Philistine. All right. It says, and Delilah said unto Samson, hitherto thou hast mocked me and told me lies. Tell me wherewith thou mightest be bound. And he said unto her, if thou weavest the 7 locks of my head with the web. And when you go into the etymology, right, that word eto means root word, right? The root word, right? The root word, ology means study, right? Which, that's what etymology means, getting into the main point. Going to mean that word locks, it goes into H4253.
Strong's H4253. Machlafoth.
And it says braid, lock, plait. So there you go. It's a braid. It's a plait. That's what Samson had. He had plaits. He had braids, plaits. He didn't have no fucking dread. A dread, you can't, one dread itself, you can't weave it. You can't weave it a fucking dread. But a plait, you can weave it a plait. A braid, you can weave it. You can lock it and unlock it. A dread, you can lock the shit, but you can't unlock the shit. And if you do try to unlock the shit, you're going to have to use tons and tons and tons and tons of detangler to take the shit out. That shit going to take a long time to take out. A plait, you can lock it and unlock it. You can lock it because one braid forms a lock. As you're braiding it, you're forming locks as you braid down. You can unlock it and lock it. A dread, you can fucking lock this shit, but you can't unlock it. You have to fucking either cut it off, or you're going to have to use tons of fucking detangler to take this shit out. That's a lot of hassle to do. So we know that in this scripture here, that's talking about a plait, a braid. Let's prove it. So all these dudes right here, all these guys right here are going off. They got dreads. They fucking going off. Dreadlocks is not an Israelite custom. This is the etymology, right? The etymology of the meaning of the word plait. It means plait, to fold something, gather in plaits, double and narrow strips, also to braid. Look at that. To braid or weave. To braid or weave. You could weave a plait. Thou weavest the 7 of my locks. Braids. That's not talking about no fucking dread, man. You can't weave us one dread. You can't fucking weave us this shit. A plait, a braid, you can weave us it. So it was talking about braids, plaits. That's what Samson had. Now let's go into the origin, which is called a jetta, right? Right? Jetta locks. Because that's what it's called. You see? That stuff goes back to Hinduism. And actually, I'll just put Hindu. Hindu. See? Anybody can look this up. It says Indian, which is East Indians, not Native American Indians. East Indians. Don't get fucking confused there. This is where dreadlocks go back to. Anybody can Google this. Indian dreadlocks, which is talking about East Indians, right? Them East Indians, India, the people of India, right? Which is called Elamites, right? This is their custom. This is not an Israelite custom. It says the Hindu deity Shiva is also described in many scriptures as wearing dreadlocks, which is referred to as Jeta. The story of Ganga, the Hindu goddess of purification, and the Ganges River is one of the most notable narratives that have a mention of Shiva wearing dreadlocks. Dreadlocks is a Hinduism custom. Dreadlocks is wicked. If you're wearing dreads and you are claiming to be an Israelite, you need to cut them bitches off. Dreadlocks is a heathen custom. It is not an Israelite custom. This is where dreads go back to. It goes back to the deity Shiva. Look at that. Cultural history of dreadlocks. It goes back to Hinduism. It goes back to India. The Elamites, that's an Elamite custom. That's not an Israelite custom. We proved it. I made it simple. I can even go to a video, but I'm not going to make this long. Dreadlocks is not an Israelite custom. It is a heathen custom. It's a heathen custom, man. And them guys is going off. Let's see what the Lord told us in Leviticus. Let's get the book of Leviticus. This is the book of Leviticus 18. I'll read verse 24 though. This is what the Lord told us, right? Leviticus 18:24. Defile not ye yourselves in any of these things. Your body is the temple of the Lord. Whatever custom you take on, whatever type of doctrine you take on, whatever type of food you eat, whatever type of smoke, any type of thing you put into the body, you defiled it. If you got dreads, you're defiling your temple, because that's a heathen custom. Verse 24, defile not ye yourselves in any of these things, for in all these the nations are defiled which I cast out before you. What nations? The 17 heathen nations that are cast out. The Lord ain't dealing with those heathen nations, man. That's what it's talking about. So you're not supposed to defile your temple. Verse 30, therefore shall ye keep mine ordinance, right, that ye commit not any one of these abominable customs. Dreadlocks is an abominable custom. That's not an Israelite custom, which were committed before you, and that ye defile not yourselves therein. I am the Lord your power. So you're not supposed to take on the customs of the heathen nations. That's a heathen custom. Dreadlocks is a heathen custom. So I'm not going to keep this long. These guys going off. And I just want to do a quick hit. These guys going off. They walking together in this long ass group of a special gathering. And all these guys with all these different dreads, they all fucking going off. So Lord willing, this lesson is edifying. Dreadlocks is not an Israelite custom. Till next time I say, Shalom.